Hi, I'm Emily Diamond and I'm the reading patron for David Young Community Academy, and I'm doing these little webcasts about the books that you're reading in the reading group and that I've been reading as well. And so this is my contribution to the discussion that I think you'll be having. And so the first book I'm going to talk about is called Now is the Time for Running by Michael Williams, and he's a South African writer, and I have to admit I've not actually heard of him before this book club, so that's fantastic because it's always great to find a new author. Now, I chose to read this book because lots of other people in the group had chosen to read it, and I have to admit, if it had been up to me, I might not have picked it up because I realise it's about football, and don't hate me for this if you love football, but I'm not really into football very much, and I kind of thought, oh no, I might not like this because it's going to be about football and that's not really my thing. But I absolutely loved this book, and if you're like me and you kind of look at a book and think, oh, football, would I like it? I would say read it anyway because it was really great, and it even made me understand why people like football so much. So that was quite an education for me. So the book's about two boys living in Zimbabwe and what happens to them, and something quite awful happens to them. And then they end up as refugees and they're trying to get to South Africa. And the story is their journey through this this really hard journey that they take, and what happens to them as well once they arrive in South Africa. And there are lots of kind of things that are really unusual and that I didn't know about, and that gave me a real insight into what life might be like there. But at the same time, there was so much that's similar, and you can sort of really feel how it might be to be caught in that situation and to be, having to run and having to, find your way in this. And they really are completely left to their own resources. So it's a really fantastic book. It's really interesting, and there was a couple of things that I thought were really interesting things to be talking about or thinking about in the book. One is the relationship between the two brothers, because it's not that straightforward, and it's not just he's the eldest so he's in charge. And the other aspect that I thought was interesting is all the stuff about immigration. And there's so much in the news about immigration, and people talk about it a lot, and we know, I'm sure that you've heard people, adults, talking about this, and some people are very against immigration and all that kind of thing, and this was a really interesting way of looking at it, and there are so many parallels with what's happening here. So I think that's quite a good thing to go, you can go away and really think about afterwards. So I was thinking about if you enjoyed this book, what other books might you enjoy, and what could I recommend for you to read? So I've thought of a few different books. So if you like football books, then there's the author Tom Palmer, who's written loads of fantastic football stories. They're really easy to read, they're really fun, they're exciting, and across a whole range of topics as well. So he's set some in the past and some are now, and some are murders, and so there's lots of things going on in his stories. And also the author Mal Peet has written some football books as well, and again, a really fantastic author, and anything you pick up by him will be great, basically. And another one I thought that you might not know of or might not immediately think of is a book called Bend It Like Beckham, which is better known as a film, but it's actually a book as well, and that's got another kind of point of, it's a different way of looking at it, because it's about an Asian girl and she's really good at football, and all about what that brings. And then finally, a book that is again a kind of slightly, it's all about football, but it's also about another subject, which is the war, and that's called The Match of Death by Jim Reardon. Now, if what you liked about this book was also the parts about the fact that it's set in Africa, and it's a very different kind of story than perhaps you would get for something set in this country, then another possibility that you might like is The Child's Elephant by Rachel Campbell Johnston, and that's also about two boys, and it's set in Central Africa, and they get caught up in some quite horrible things as well. But again, it's an adventure story, and you know, it's really exciting, a proper, you know, nail-biting story, and it's got an elephant in, which is always good. And then finally, I thought, well, actually, one of the books that's on your book group list, which is called The Weight of Water by Sarah Crosnan, that's also about a girl who becomes an immigrant into this country. So that might be a really interesting alternative point of view, or a different sort of subject, but the same kind of story. So those are my recommendations. But obviously, if you don't like any of them, just go and read something else. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just you find the books you want to read. And I hope you enjoyed this book as much as I did. And I will see you soon. Bye.